how to actually support someone you love. Your friend is crying. What do? Most of us get it wrong. Hello, today I want to talk about something we all consider obvious, but in practice almost always do incorrectly, about how to support someone close to you when they're struggling. Let's figure out why this happens, and what we can do differently so that our care actually helps rather than wounds. What is emotional support really? Emotional support isn't about fixing something, isn't about making the pain disappear, and certainly isn't about solving the person's problem for them. Emotional support is the ability to stay present and hold space for another person's emotions, no matter how heavy and destructive they may be. It's the skill of not running from someone else's pain, not trying to urgently eliminate it, but simply being with the person in whatever state they're in right now. Allowing them to feel what they feel, without rushing them, without pushing them to quickly pull themselves together and return to their usual functional state. It sounds simple, but in reality we almost never do this, because the very idea of staying with someone else's pain without doing anything to eliminate it triggers intense discomfort in us. From the perspective of humanistic psychology, developed by Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow, true support lies in unconditional acceptance of another person as they are in a given moment, including all their inconvenient emotions: anger, despair, fear, helplessness. Rogers called this congruence and empathy, the ability to be genuine in your presence while simultaneously feeling the world as the other person feels it, without losing the understanding that this is their experience, not yours. When we truly hold space for someone else's emotions, we give them a message. You can be like this with me, and I won't turn away, I won't be frightened, I won't try to change you. This is one of the most healing experiences possible in human relationships, because it says, you are valuable not because you're functional, successful, or calm, but simply because you exist. How we usually do it, and why it doesn't work when someone close to us is upset. We typically react in one of three ways, and all of them, paradoxically, are directed not at helping the suffering person, but at reducing our own discomfort. The first way is to immediately rush to fix the situation, offering solutions and calling for action. Let's think about what we can do. You can just stop talking to them. Why don't you try this approach? At first glance, this looks like care and a desire to help. But actually, behind it lies our inability to bear helplessness and uncertainty. We want the problem solved right now. We want the person to stop suffering and return to a normal state, because their suffering causes us discomfort. The person hearing these words receives a completely different message than we intended. They hear that their feelings are a problem that needs to be eliminated as quickly as possible, that their emotional state is inconvenient for those around them and needs to be urgently fixed. The second common approach is invalidation and minimization of experiences. We say, everything will be fine. Why are you so upset? It's not that serious. You're overreacting. And we sincerely believe we're calming the person down, helping them view the situation more rationally. In reality, this is pure invalidation, which communicates, your feelings are wrong, excessive, they don't deserve serious attention, and you're reacting inappropriately. From the perspective of attachment theory, this kind of reaction forms in the person a sense that their emotional needs are illegitimate, that they have no right to feel what they feel, and that in order to maintain contact with loved ones, they need to suppress their experiences and display only socially acceptable, light emotions. This leads to the formation of an avoidant attachment style, where the person learns to cope with everything alone because they've internalized, when I'm struggling, there's no room for my real feelings around others. The third way is imposing unsolicited advice and solutions. We begin actively suggesting what exactly needs to be done, how to act, what steps to take, even though the person never asked us for help finding solutions. You need to do this. Try it this way, if I were you. If the person didn't ask, what should I do? This reaction is perceived as a message. You can't handle this yourself, you're incompetent. "I'm going to fix you now." This violates their autonomy and sense of competence, creates a feeling that they can't figure out their own life and need to be rescued. From the perspective of existential psychology, this reaction deprives the person of the opportunity to live through their own experience, to find meaning in it themselves, and develop their own solution, which is a crucial part of maturation and forming authenticity. So why do we act this way if we sincerely want to help? The answer is simple and simultaneously uncomfortable. We do this not for the person who's suffering, but for ourselves. We can't tolerate the discomfort that arises in us when we see a loved one suffering. When someone near us cries, rages, falls into despair, very strong and unpleasant feelings rise up in us. Guilt, they're suffering and I can't do anything about it. Anxiety, what if they never get better? Helplessness, I don't know how to help, I'm useless. These feelings are so unbearable that we instinctively try to get rid of them, and the quickest way is to make the other person stop suffering. If they stop crying, calm down, return to a normal state, then we'll feel better too. We'll be rid of our own discomfort. Essentially, we're trying to regulate not their emotions, but our own, using them as an instrument to achieve our inner peace. As a result of this behavior, the person who needed support begins to internalize destructive beliefs about themselves and their relationships with others. They start thinking, "When I'm struggling, there's no room for me around you. I need to return to functional mode as quickly as possible, or I won't be accepted. I can only be cheerful, active, and coping, but if I'm weak, confused, or despairing, I become a burden." These are deeply destructive beliefs that lead to the person stopping trusting others with their real feelings, starting to wear a mask of well-being even when everything inside is collapsing, and ultimately feeling profoundly lonely because no one knows or accepts their real self. They begin to believe they're loved and valued only when they're okay, while their authentic, suffering self is unwanted and must be hidden. How to actually support, holding space for pain. So how do you properly be present with someone when they're struggling? The most important and most difficult thing is learning to hold their emotions without trying to change, weaken, or eliminate them. Holding emotions means staying with the person in whatever state they're in, not running from their pain, not trying to urgently stop it, but simply allowing it to be, giving it space and time. This doesn't mean you must feel exactly what they feel, or that you should immerse yourself in their suffering to the point where you lose the ability to distinguish where their feelings end and yours begin. You don't need to confuse empathy and sympathy. You can sympathize, but you don't need to experience everything your loved one is experiencing. You don't need rehearsed phrases, don't need to pretend you feel what you don't feel. All you need is to show the person that you're capable of holding their pain, that it doesn't frighten you, doesn't make you turn away or run. There are several simple phrases that communicate exactly this message. "I see that you're really struggling right now. I'm with you. I'm here. What you're feeling doesn't frighten me. You can be like this with me." These words work not because they're magical or particularly beautiful, but because they directly and clearly say, "Your pain has a right to exist. I won't turn away from it. I'm not afraid of it. And you don't have to hide it from me to maintain our connection." Let's look at what this might look like in a concrete example. Imagine your friend is crying and telling you they feel completely alone, that no one understands them, that they don't know how to go on living. Your first impulse will likely be to start saying something comforting, offering solutions, assuring them everything will work out. But instead, you pause, take a breath, and simply say quietly, "I'm here, I'm with you." You don't try to fill the silence, don't rush to fix anything, just sit beside them. After some time, they might say they don't know what to do, and instead of immediately offering a list of recommendations, you respond, "You don't have to know that right now. I'm not going anywhere." You give them permission to not have answers, to not be strong, to not function at full capacity, to simply be in their suffering for as long as necessary. Notice what you're not doing in this moment. You're not saying, "Everything will be fine." not offering solutions, not trying to cheer them up or distract them, not invalidating the pain with words like, "Come on, it's not that bad." You're simply holding their experience, as if holding something very fragile and precious, not trying to change or improve it, but simply carefully preserving it. This is what true emotional support is. From the perspective of psychodynamic theory, this kind of presence gives the person an experience where their inner world can be brought outside and met not with rejection or attempts at control, but with acceptance. And this is one of the most healing experiences possible in therapy and close relationships. How to support yourself so you can hold someone else's pain. I know what some of you are thinking right now, but what if I can't handle their pain? What if their suffering overwhelms me so much that I start drowning myself? This is an absolutely real and legitimate feeling, and it's important to acknowledge that the ability to hold someone else's emotions doesn't arise on its own. It needs to be learned. And for this, you need to know how to take care of yourself in the process. Here are several ways that help support yourself so you can support another. First, try putting yourself in the suffering person's place and ask yourself, what would I feel if this happened to me? You don't need to literally live through their experience or immerse yourself in their emotions to the point of losing yourself. But it's important to acknowledge that if you were in such a situation, you too might be in shock, might cry, get angry, feel lost. You can say to yourself, or even out loud, yes, if this happened to me, I'd be terrified too, even if I personally wouldn't cry. I understand this is a completely normal reaction to such an event. This doesn't mean you're obligated to feel exactly what they feel, but it means you recognize the reality and legitimacy of their experience without invalidating or minimizing it. Second, if you don't have words, don't try to invent them, because silence and simple presence are often far more powerful than any phrases, even the most correct ones. You can simply hug the person if they're ready for physical contact right now, or sit beside them holding their hand, or put your hand on their back or shoulder. Or do nothing at all, except be there in the quiet. Physical presence that communicates, I'm here, I'm not leaving, I'm not afraid of your feelings, gives the person a sense that they're accepted exactly as they are right now. That they don't need to put on a mask, pretend everything's fine, hurry to exit this state so as not to be a burden. Third, add constructive input and solutions only after the person asks for it themselves, and only if they're clearly ready for it. If they ask, what should I do? How should I be? Then you can very carefully and gently offer some ideas, options, but under no circumstances before they ask for it themselves. First, you need to hold the emotion, give it space and time, give the person the opportunity to live through what they're living through, and only then. When the wave subsides a bit and they're ready to think about actions, can you move to discussing solutions? If you start offering solutions before they're ready to hear them, it will be perceived as an attempt to quickly close the topic of their suffering, as unwillingness to hold their pain. Fourth, check your own state and be honest with yourself, and with them if you feel their pain is beginning to overwhelm you. You have a right to your own reaction, have a right to feel discomfort, confusion, your own anxiety, and if this becomes too intense, you can say something like, I want to be here for you. Give me a second to catch my breath. Or, this is heavy, let's just sit together for a while. The key is not to let your need for relief turn into a demand that they stop feeling what they're feeling for the sake of your comfort. The difference between, I need a second to collect myself, and stop crying already, it's making me feel bad, is enormous, and it's important to maintain this boundary. What happens when you do this right? When you truly hold space for someone else's pain, not running from it, and not trying to immediately fix it. Something very deep and healing happens in the relationship. The person receives perhaps the most valuable thing they can receive from another human being, a sense that their feelings are normal and legitimate, that they're not alone in their suffering, that you accept them completely, including all their pain, anger, despair, everything they usually hide from the world because they fear being rejected or judged. This is one of the most healing things we can give each other. Because in a world where everyone wears masks of well-being and displays only socially acceptable versions of themselves, the possibility of being seen in your authenticity, including the darkest and most broken parts, is a rare and priceless gift. This isn't about giving advice, isn't about solving problems, isn't about assuring that everything will be fine, but about simply saying with your entire being, "I'm here, I can hold this. You're safe with me." When a person feels this, when they understand that you won't turn away from their pain, won't try to smooth it over or rush it, won't demand they quickly return to functional mode, something important happens in them. They begin to trust not only you but also themselves, their feelings, their right to vulnerability. They understand that being weak, confused, broken doesn't mean being unworthy of love and closeness, that you can fall and know you won't be abandoned. That beside you, there's room for all their states, not just the ones that are comfortable and pleasant. Conclusion: supporting someone you love doesn't mean solving their problems, eliminating their pain, or making things easier and more comfortable for them. Supporting means giving space to all their feelings, even the heaviest, most destructive, most inconvenient ones, and not demanding they quickly return to an acceptable, functional state. When we hold someone else's pain without running from it, and without trying to fix it, the person receives a message that heals more deeply than any words of comfort. I'm accepted for who I really am, with all my pain, weakness, confusion, and this doesn't make me unworthy of love and closeness. This is one of the most healing gifts we can give each other, because in a world where we're constantly required to be strong, successful, coping, the possibility of simply being, with all our cracks and wounds, and knowing you won't be abandoned, judged, or changed, this is what so many of us desperately lack. So next time someone you love is suffering, try not to rush to fix the situation. Don't hurry with advice and comfort, but simply stay, simply be present, simply breathe with them in their pain. That's enough. That's more than enough. How do you support the people you love when they're struggling? Do you feel the urge to quickly fix everything, or can you simply be present? Write in the comments, let's learn from each other. Thank you for being with me. Take care of yourself and those dear to you. See you in the next video.